You guys come a long way, and so I'm going to make it worth your while. So I was thinking about this today in Taekwondo. Taekwondo is nothing but adversity. It's hard.
Yes, sir. I'm with you.
You struggle. What do you think the difference is in this business? There's no difference. We want, I guess sometimes we expect immediate gratification. It doesn't. It's a business. You have to work it like you're training. It took me 3 months to become a yellow belt when I was a white belt. It took me another 3 months to become a green belt. It took me another 3 months to become a blue. It took me another 3 months to become a red stripe, 3-4 months. And then it came to be a red belt, it was another 3-4 months. And then from red to black stripe, it was 6 months. That's how long you have to wait. And then from black stripe to black belt, that's another 6 months. So from the hardest part, from red to black, it takes an entire year before you have a chance to have the opportunity to test for black belt. So really, it's the same concept in this business. You can't get the black belt unless you've done the fundamental movements and you've developed the people and you've worked on yourself. And I think what happens is we expect us to be, a Scott Bardulis. We're not. We're white belts. And as long as you recognize where you're at, it's okay. But that doesn't mean you sit complacent and not work on your skill sets and not work on your invites and not work on engaging with people on a day-to-day basis, because that's what we do for a living. And it's no different than I was in sales with Brian Tracy. You had to go out and you had to make calls, you had to do cold calls, you had to do warm calls, you had to do all these kind of calls. But it was a job. It's a business. This business, the difference in this business, and I've been reading a lot of books on network marketing, the dividends when you get to the top are amazing, aren't they? They're amazing. And I've been reading some of these stories, and it is true stories. It's sometimes our perception of how fast, and we start to lose doubt, and we start to get a little doubt because we didn't get any people in yet, or whatever the case may be, and maybe it's going a little slow for you. Well, guess what? Sometimes it takes you a while to learn a block perfectly. These guys they're still having problems doing blocks. And sometimes it takes you a little while to learn how to use your hips in a punch. It's the same thing. It's all practice and skill and practicing your mindset on a day-to-day basis, where when you are going to engage with somebody for an invite, you're ready to do that. But if you remember last week, I was talking about being a product of the product. You must be a product of the product. And one of the things that we stress in this group, you must read every day, you must do your affirmations every day, you must review your goals every day, and be a professional, a professional, a professional, a professional. Self-development is a lifelong thing. The byproduct of being, I was thinking about this today. I have done more speaking in the last 4.5 months than I've probably done in the last 2 years. Not saying I don't speak every day in my class. Why is that? Because I got in a business where I have to engage every day. It's cool. So I'm getting better in the process of getting and making more money. So you just have to be patient with yourself. We have a saying in Taekwondo. It says, cultivate patience during training. You will get better with good time and proper application. You will start to improve with good time, with just time and application. And sometimes it takes us longer to get it going, but when it goes, it goes. And when you're prepared and you're ready and you get the right people, that's when it takes off. And is everybody going to take off? No. But only the ones that are going to listen and they're going to buy into and plug into the training. It is all training, training, training. I don't know any other way to be successful at this. You go out and you train hard as you can, as hard as you can. And then you apply the training, and then you go do the training, correct? And I was saying to somebody upstairs last night, I said, I never have had a problem inviting anyone. You know why? Because I'm rehearsed. I practice. I showed these guys the other night. What did I do the other night when a lady came up the stairs? Who was here when the lady came up the
Asked her
stairs?
about her retirement, how that was going along, and then you're
And
like,
that's-
"Oh, I got Plan B for you."
She goes,
It's like,
I want to
whenever
know.
you're ready.
Whenever you're ready. I said, I got Plan B for you. So she was walking up the stairs. I go, hey, are you retiring soon? She goes, yeah, I am. I go, what are you going to do? She goes, I don't know. I'm really worried about it. I said, well, I got Plan B for you. You want Plan B? Are you ready for Plan B? And she goes, I'm ready for Plan B. See how I just led that right into it? So if you're really, really good at inviting, you're going to have a lot more people. And as Jim Rohn said, when you start inviting people, maybe you get 1 out of 10. You start inviting more people, you get 2 out of 10, then 3 out of 10, then 5 out of 10. Because the better you get at invites, the ratio of closing somebody to go to a meeting gets way higher. Isn't that right? So don't, you have to be a white belt first. You can't be a black belt in this business. There's no way. Now, I might have started as a green because I had sales skills like Mike and Kent and Trevor and some of the other people. But I didn't start at the top. I started at the bottom, and I had to figure it out for myself. I said, well, I don't like that invite. I'm going to make my own invites up because I can do that. So what we did is we made about 9 or 10 or 11 invites, so that way they can come right off the tip of our tongue, and they sound really natural. I've got something extraordinary I have to show you. I need an hour and open mind. Let's go to lunch. Right? That's beautiful.
Mhm.
Now you're happy with what you're doing, you're looking for something else. I got Plan B for you. I stumbled into something that I have not seen in 30 years that could change your life financially in 2 years. Give me an hour and open mind. I got something extraordinary to show you that could change your life financially in 2 years. Give me an hour and open mind. What is it? Trust me, you love it. What is it? It's something I have to show you. You have to meet Scott. You have to go to this meeting with me. I'll pick you up at 6. Got it? The better you are at the invite, the easier. I see how natural I am. I'm not trying to force. I'm not trying to have the perception of what if they say no. I don't want that. I don't want that belief system. Is if I say something, they're going to say no. I want them to say yes. So my positive expectancy is they're going to say yes because my invite is so good. So if I'm a red belt or a black belt in Taekwondo, I know that if I throw that kick to somebody, I'm going to hit them center target because I've practiced it so much. Does that make sense? I've practiced it so much. So if you practice this as much as I do Taekwondo, you're going to be fine. And it's really the only thing that holds us back is is this person going to say yes or no? Well, they could say no. But how many more yeses are you going to get if you master that invite? How many more? So many more. So many more. I got something extraordinary I got to show you, Angela. I need an hour and open mind. Fair enough? What is it? Trust me, you're going to love it. Trust me, you're going to love it. I said, it's something I got to show you. I have to have you meet this guy, Scott. Friend of mine on the phone. Very successful guy, Chris. Chris Matt. Former football player. Had some challenges. Chris is working in Wisconsin. I say, Chris, you got to meet Scott. You have to meet Scott. I said, you got to give him 15 minutes, or I said, give him a half hour and open mind. He says, I'm open. Do you see how I didn't say, are you interested? I said, open mind. I did not say interested. Do you think? What do you think? How do you feel? I don't give him a chance to hit me back. You like that? I'm not going to give him a chance. Bruce Lee started Jeet Kune Do. You know what Jeet Kune Do means? It's the way of the intercepting fist. So as they hit you, you hit them back before they hit you. This is what we're doing. We're getting so good at the invite, they're just going to come. And once you get confident in the invite, he wants to play ball. You get confident in the invite, then you're just natural and you can bring more people. Then you're not apprehensive about asking somebody to go to a meeting. So the beauty of it is get the invite mastered. And when you master it, you're going to feel so much better about yourself. So I just practice every day. I said, I got Plan B for you. You got to come to a meeting with me. What is it? Trust me, you're going to love it. Now, some people, I've had one other person dig a little deeper. And I said, it's something I need to show you. I can't tell you, I have to show you. And all I need is an hour and an open mind. So I keep repeating the hour and open mind. I said, hey, look, I'm just asking for now. You decide for yourself that this is something that makes sense to you, but I think this is something you're going to love. This is going to fit for you. Give me an hour and open mind. Fair enough? That's it. It's something I have to show you, and I need an hour and an open mind. It's something I have to show you. I need an hour and an open mind. Just think about that. Isn't that beautiful? I got plan B for you. They lost their job. I said, you know what? I got plan B for you. You have to come with me. It's something that's extraordinary to change your life in 2 years financially. Give me an hour and an open mind. Now, doesn't that sound positive? Doesn't sound like I am interested in hearing what you have to say. They don't know what it is, but I am open-minded because I want to get better. But if you have any kind of apprehension in how you're saying it, remember, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And you have to be a professional. We're black belts. We're professionals. And if you want to be successful in this business, you have to think like a pro, act like a pro, be a pro, and say it like a pro. Otherwise, you're going to lose like an amateur. Amateurs don't practice. Pros practice. This is a practicing business. If you want to develop this business to the highest level, you have to practice. I get up every morning. I read my goals. I do my vision. And, I look at these. I actually went to my black belt. I went to my black belt principles, the black belt Youngevity thing that I gave you guys a long time ago. And I looked at all the principles. I said, okay, daily disciplines, practice, read books, listen to tapes, I said, okay, I'm on track. I need to do this a little bit more, do a little bit, that a little bit more. But this is a business. If I hired you in my company and I said, okay, how many people did you go see last week? Wouldn't I? If you were a sales guy, I'll say, okay, out of how many people, how many presentations did you get? You'll say 10. And out of how many 10 presentations, how many did you close? Because you work for me. The problem is, in this business, we work for ourselves. And the only one's going to motivate us is who?
Us.
Us. It's your drive, your determination, and how do you well up that determination? How do you really get your thinking around that making this business huge? Damn right. You see it every day. I see my house in Seattle on the water with the seals, with the eagles, with the whales floating around, coming through. And you know what I watch? I watch Buying Alaska, because June, Alaska is almost similar to Seattle, Washington. So they have the same, they're flipping around the water. There's orcas, packs of orcas, pods of orcas coming through. I know what kind of seal they have. I know exactly what kind of seal is over there. I know what kind of bald eagle. I know what a bald eagle looks like. I've seen millions of them. So does that make sense to you? Because your dreams are everything. If you have a big dream, it's going to motivate you to get up every morning to succeed. So I'm going to talk more about this in the back end of what we're going to show you here. And now this is a special video for me. Brian Tracy is called Success is a Journey. Now, he is speaking to about 10,000 of the best top-of-the-table insurance agents. So if you get to the $1 million roundtable, you're making $250,000 a year. So everybody in this audience is making $250,000 plus. And this is a story about him going to Africa. And I heard this story the first time when I was 25 years old, and it put me to tears because it's such a great story. He went into detail, but this will give you an idea. But this is some just great points on how to become successful, thinking out of the box, but also gearing us in the right direction for what we do. Because you know what the bottom line is? If you're not motivated, if we're not doing this every week, we're losing mental fitness. This is all about mental fitness, isn't it? And every week you come here, you get more mentally fit. That's what it is. And I need it as much as you need it. That's why I love to listen to these things. I'm no different than you are. I need it too. And then next week we're going to do it again. You're not going to do it, but you're going to be motivated anyway. So we have a pitching ranch here next week, so we're going to go upstairs. So with that, I'm going to get Brian Tracy going. And can you see this, Travis? The TV? Can you see it now?
But you're just throwing that little.
Good.
You're just throwing that little ball over.
Any questions? Does that make sense to you? This is sparring. This is living. This is experiential. This is beauty. This is what the beautiful game of this business is. You're going to get up, you're going to get down. You're going to get this, you're going to get that. You're going to get shut down, you're going to get good, you're going to get bad. But in the end result is if you stick and stay and you think about it. I have been doing Taekwondo for 33 years. Do you think at any time in my Taekwondo profession that I wanted to quit? Not many times. Probably never. But do you think there was times where I got bored? I had adversity, I had setbacks, I had disappointments, my body's sore, I can't do something every single day. But does that stop me from doing my dream? It does not, does it? So it shouldn't stop you either. All right. Can you see play here? I think I got it. All right. Let's see where the volume is. It's not quite right about there. It's perfect. Let me see if I got play here.
There you go, that's out of it.
I just push one. I got push one. Sorry. There we go. There we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Thank you. I can't tell you how delighted I am to be here. I believe in this industry. I believe in life insurance, and I believe in you. I think that life insurance people are some of the finest people in the world, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I'm just delighted to be here with you.
Can you hear that?
It was not always thus. Many years ago, I had different ideas about life insurance when I was younger and foolish. And about 7 years ago, a friend of mine took me out for lunch and introduced me to a life insurance agent who was here in the audience today. And he asked me a few questions, and I gave him a few answers, and he called me up a few days later. He said, "Why don't we get together for lunch again?" So I thought that was pretty good. I could use a free lunch at that particular time of my life. So he took me out for lunch, and we had lunch, and then he took out his folder, and he had prepared a proposal for me, and he said, "Based on everything that you told me, I think that what you need is $1 million worth of life insurance." My heart almost stopped. Like I said, it's lunch, it's no problem. I'll pay for the lunch. I said, "Look, I got $100,000 worth of life insurance. If something happens to me, the house is paid off, my wife and my children have a house for a year." Well, he explained to me that that's not a sufficient answer. They're going to have to go to school, they're going to have to eat, and things like that. I said, yeah. I said, "Look, I'm not going to gamble against myself. I'm not going to, pay money to bet against myself, survive." And so he explained that away. And I gave him every objection that you could imagine. I don't care how many objections you've heard, I gave him all to him. He answered them all, just sort of like a boxer, just went boom, boom. Well, finally, I was still determined I wasn't going to buy it. I said, "Okay, you've answered every question, but tell me, give me one reason why I should buy $1 million life insurance policy." And this is what he did. He folded up his stuff, put it aside, folded his arms, and leaned across the table, and he said, "Brian," he said, "you're simply too important a person to have anything less than $1 million in life insurance." Well, I looked at him, and he looked at me, and the thing was, he meant it. I asked him last night, as a matter of fact, and he assured me, yes, he did mean it. And I couldn't argue with him. What did I say? No, I'm really quite insignificant and unimportant. And so I said, "Can you make monthly payments?" And he said, "Yes." So I took the insurance. Now, that's not the important thing. The important thing is that after I bought the policy, and I never regretted it for a second, no buyer's remorse, something happened to me. And I pass this on to you because I think that you should all sell $1 million policies. Because when I walked away with that policy, I felt like $1 million person. My self-image. You know that your outer life reflects your inner life. We all know that. My self-image changed. Instead of being a struggling business person with family responsibility, with too many bills and not enough money, I was $1 million person. And I signed a loan application, and I signed quite a few. I put down there, insurance, $1 million. I started to think about that. If something happened to me, my family could live in style and life. I didn't think that I was way more dead than alive, but I felt like $1 million person. You know something? Over the years, the inner became the outer. And now I'm a $1 million person on the outside as well as on the inside, and I'm sure that being sold that $1 million policy has something to do with it. So don't sell it for yourself, sell it for the person. Because there's nothing better than to have $1 million policy walking around knowing you're $1 million person. Now, 3 years later, Gordon came back to me and sold me another $1 million worth of insurance. This time, permanent life. It's getting better. I want to tell you how much I believe in this industry. Last night, I just paid the deposit check for $2 million more of life insurance. I think this is great. I believe in life insurance. Anyway, did you ever stop and ask yourself why some people are more successful than others? Why isn't some people make more money, live longer, have better relationships? Well, the great mass of men, as Thoreau said, live lives of quiet desperation. When I was 15, I set out on a lifelong journey to find the answer to that question. Why are some people more successful than others? You see, when I was growing up, my family never seemed to have enough money. My parents grew up during the Depression, and I heard the same things over and over again throughout my childhood. We can't afford it. We can't afford it. We can't afford it. I don't know if you heard that when you were growing up. It seemed to be the national anthem. I was not a great student. I passed out of high school when I was 18. I say passed out because, rather than graduated, because that's what happened. I passed out in the half of the class that made the top half possible. The person in front of me, and there's a lot of people out here in the same half. The person in front of me on the stage and the person in back of me received diplomas, and I got a leaving certificate. And when you open it up, it says goodbye. And that's what they meant, goodbye, don't ever come back. Anyway, since then, I've traveled and worked in more than 80 countries on 6 continents. I've sailed on all the great oceans. I've been around the world 2 or 3 times. I became fluent in French, German, and Spanish, as well as learning to get along with several other languages. When you need to eat, you learn. Anyway, I started off as poor as I could be, searching for the secrets of success. And over the years, I've read and studied for over 30,000 hours in business, economics, psychology, philosophy, religion, metaphysics, and history to find the secrets of success. And I'm happy to say that I eventually found the answers I was looking for. Today, I live in a $1 million house on a golf course in Southern California, and I have business interests in 9 countries. Today, I know and I've proven that success in any field, including this field, is as predictable as the sun rising in the east and setting in the west. And my purpose in speaking with you today is to share with you some of the most important things I've ever learned. However, as Aristotle once said, you can't teach a person something that they don't already know. You're already high achievers and great successes in your careers. You're already the cream of your profession. So many of you already know what we're going to talk about, and the rest of you will recognize these principles as soon as you hear them. About 5 years ago, I met a wise and wealthy man who had spent his entire life studying success. And he reached a clear conclusion concerning the reason for success in life and especially in business. He's dead now, but I'll never forget what he told me, because I immediately recognized that he put the finger on my reason for success and yours, as we'll talk about in a minute. He said the key to success was to set a goal and then to stay with it until you achieve success in at least one important thing. He said that your subconscious mind will then accept that success experience and store it as a pattern, like a template. And then from then on, your subconscious will drive you and direct you and guide you to repeat the pattern of success in other things that you attempt. Another way of saying it is that nothing succeeds like success. Psychologists have demonstrated that achievement brings you a natural high. Once you've experienced your first great success, and not only are you unconsciously programmed to repeat it, but nothing else will ever give you the same wonderful sense of satisfaction. All high achievers know that. Anyway, I learned the truth of this idea many years ago when I first started traveling. I spent 8 years traveling around the world. And in many ways, a trip or a journey is a metaphor for life. My first big trip was that, and much, much more. It had such an enormous impact on me that I've never really gotten over it. My whole life has been different as a result of what I call the Sahara crossing. Let me tell you about it. When I was 18, 3 friends and I decided we'd walk and see the world. We were well out of high school, and we were laboring in sawmills on the West Coast. This is in 1963, and a lot of our friends were heading for Europe to travel around with backpacks. So we decided to do something different. Nobody else was going to Africa, so we decided we'd go to Africa. Of course, it never occurred to us to ask why it was that no one else was going to Africa. And that was our first mistake. After working and saving for a year, 4 of us piled into an old 1946 Chevy and drove out of Vancouver, bound for Montreal, via Toronto. Actually, we just passed it a couple of blocks from here on our way on that trip. It was late at night when we left. It was pouring rain. We were all 20 years old, and we were off to see the world. Anyway, I learned later that almost every great venture begins with an act of faith, like driving into the dark, into the unknown. In a way, nature protects us by shielding us from knowledge of the difficulties and obstacles that lie ahead. Because if we really knew all the problems we would face, the setbacks, the suffering, the temporary failure, the disappointments, many of us would hesitate about ever even starting at all. And our plan was to drive across country to Montreal, get jobs on ships, to work our way across the Atlantic, and then head south across Europe to Africa. Pretty basic plan. However, as it happened in Montreal, one of the guys decided to give up and go home. And so he left us. Well, I left 3. The other 2, after 1 day, still remember that, after 1 day of looking for work on the waterfront, decided to quit. Decided to quit trying and to spend their limited savings to pay their way across the Atlantic, rather than to work their way. I tried to talk them out of it. I told them that quitting is a habit. If you quit the first time you run into difficulties, you'll always quit when the going gets rough. You will, in effect, establish a pattern for failure rather than a pattern for success. But their minds were made up, so we split our savings and they took passage on a ship to England. I worked on a construction site in Montreal, hauling heavy things for the entire winter, and then I got a job on a Norwegian freighter out of Halifax, and I worked in May, February, and arrived in England in mid-April. As I had predicted, my friends had quit and stayed in England working at odd jobs. However, we soon made up, good buddies again. Once more, we headed for Africa. At this time, all we had was an 8.5 by 11-inch page about this size that had Europe and Africa all on the same map, on the same page. It seemed to be a very simple thing to go from London, which is up here, to Johannesburg, which is down here. It was just one page. But we sort of drew a straight line with that. Well, oh yes, there was a little orange part right across, sort of a band right through the middle there called the Sahara Desert. Well, we thought, well, we just whip over that and get down to the green part on the map. Without a word of it, this is true. We didn't stop to think the total distance was about 8,000 miles. See, we were big picture people. We didn't let ourselves get bogged down with details. We were young and we hadn't learned that it's the details that get you every single time. So we took a train down to London. There we bought bicycles. See, we'd never heard of anyone riding from London to Johannesburg on bicycles, so we decided that we would do it first and become famous. That was another mistake. We soon learned that when you ride bicycles across France in the springtime, you find that the hills are all uphill and the wind is always in your face. So likewise, I found that when you embark on any new venture, you often find the same thing. Everything seems to go wrong, usually at the worst possible time and in the worst possible and most expensive way, like starting a new business or a new career. Anyway, after 2 weeks of grinding along on bicycles uphill the whole way, it seems like a geographical impossibility, but it's true. We said, heck with this. We loaded the bikes on a train and we rode across France and Spain to Gibraltar. There we sold the bicycles and bought a Land Rover with our last dollar. We had definitely learned why no one had ever crossed Africa on bicycles. It was darn near impossible to cross France on bicycles. But anyway, so now we had a little problem. We were out of money. We'd exhausted our meager finances buying a Land Rover, and we didn't have enough money for fuel and equipment. So we all sat down. We consider ourselves great writers at that time. We all sat down and wrote letters to everybody that we knew, pleading for money, telling them how desperate our situation was. Sitting here looking across the Straits of Gibraltar to Africa. All we needed was just a little bit of money to get us over there. Anyway, eventually we got a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, and then we got one big score. I'll never forget this. An uncle of Jeff's that he'd only seen once in his life sent us 100 pounds. 100 pounds at that time was $300, worth more than $1,000 today. And we were ecstatic. We were saved. So this is another lesson. Nobody ever makes it on their own. One of the great lessons of life. We all need help from others to get over the rough spots on the journey of life. Well, with the additional money, we loaded up with food and supplies. We took the ferry over to Tangiers in Morocco. And we headed out Tangiers toward the Atlas Mountains in the Sahara, full of excitement, singing as we drove down the road. 20 miles out, the radiator blew up. The Land Rover had never been driven on the open road. It had spent its whole working life tooling around the narrow streets of Gibraltar. And once on the open road, it began to fall apart. The radiator was just the beginning. Over the next 10 days, the steering rods bent and threw the front wheels out of alignment, so the tires blew one by one. We had trouble with the carburetor and the ignition system. We were so poorly equipped, if you can believe it, we didn't even have a jack or a lug wrench. When we got a flat tire, we got lots of flat tires, we had to sit by the side of the road patiently, sometimes for hours, until somebody came along with the proper tools to help us change the tire. But we pressed on anyway. As we drove deeper into Morocco and over the Atlas Mountains and onto the Sahara Escarpment, we entered into a world that changed very little in 1,000 years. There were long, long stretches of barren country roads and an occasional oasis surrounded by primitive farms, which was irrigated from wells and underground rivers. And I began an experience that I still remember quite clearly, and I think you'll be able to relate to this. By this time, I was speaking French fairly well. We could converse with the natives in these occasional small towns that we passed through. And in one town, early in our slow, halting trek across Morocco, someone asked us where we were headed. And we told them we were going across the Sahara into Africa. He said, oh no. He said, you can't do that. He said, you'll die in the desert. I looked up my dictionary quickly because I didn't understand the expression. Vous allez mourir dans le brousse. Vous allez mourir dans le brousse. Okay? You will die in the desert. We then began to hear this on a regular basis everywhere we went. We'd stop at a small town, and people would bring their friends up to us and introduce us as the young men who were going off to die in the desert. Well, they seemed quite cheerful about it, but after a while, we found it kind of irritating. I mean, and by the way, these were not your average Arabs. These were Bedouin and Torah. tried to live in the Sahara for 1,000 years. I mean, they were in a position to know what they were talking about. And I learned a valuable lesson from this. I learned then, and for the rest of your life, whenever you try to do something out of the ordinary, people will line up to tell you that you can't do it, why you can't do it, that you lose your time, you lose your money, that you will, in effect, die in the desert. Even people who should know better will try to discourage you. To achieve anything greater worthwhile, you must train yourself to rise above these people, ignoring them and pressing on toward your goal regardless. We crossed from Morocco into Algeria and drove south to the town of Dakar on the edge of the Sahara. But this time our vehicle was falling apart. And when the cost of repairs of gasoline and food could almost run out of money again, one of the guys, sick from dysentery, decided to give up. He took his money and his belongings and hitchhiked to the Mediterranean, 500 miles north and back to England. That left two of us. We began wondering, what are we doing here? We were two young men, 20 and 21 years of age, thousands of miles from home, sick, tired, and almost broke, with thousands of miles ahead of us. We couldn't even remember why we started out in the first place, except that we had set it as a goal. And we were too dumb to change it. Anyway, but one of the things that kept us going was a book of poetry by Robert W. Service. Robert W. Service had driven an ambulance in World War I, and he'd written poetry to cheer up the soldiers in the trenches on the Western Front. And there was one poem that we read over and over. It always gave us a boost in the determination to go forward. It was called Carry On. And it started like this. It said, it's easy to fight when everything's right, when you're mad with the thrill of glory. It's easy to cheer when victory is near and wallow in fields that are gory. It's a different song when everything's wrong, when you're feeling infernally mortal, when it's 10 against 1 and hope there is none. Buck up, little soldier, and chortle. Carry on, carry on. There isn't much punch in your blow. You're glaring and staring and hitting out blinds. You're muddy and bloody, but never you mind. Carry on, carry on. You haven't the ghost of a show. It's looking like death, but while you regret it, carry on, my son. Carry on. Well, by this time we were in the Sahara, the largest desert on Earth. It stretches across the Tropic of Capricorn from the Atlantic Ocean to the Red Sea, more than 5,000 miles. And the part that we faced dead ahead was the Desert, the emptiest single stretch of the Sahara. 500 miles of nothing, not a fly, not a blade of grass, as flat as a tabletop. 500 miles. The enormity of what we had embarked on finally began to sink in. We learned that more than 1,300 people had perished in the desert in the last 20 years. 42 vehicles had broken down in the desert, and many of their drivers were never seen again alive. By this time, Jeff and I were once more out of money. All our tires were scraped bald and they needed to be replaced. We needed additional tanks so we could carry enough gas and water for the crossing. We needed tools to do repairs. We needed a jack and lug wrench so we could change tires. Obvious. For 3 weeks, we stayed in a bar. Jeff hitchhiked north to Algiers to wire for more money, more creative writing. While I sold all our supplies except for a bare minimum. With that money and by stripping abandoned vehicles, I got the Land Rover repaired and properly outfitted with reasonable new tires, a reserve gas tank, proper tools, and supplies for the crossing. It's amazing how enterprising you become when your survival is at stake. By the way, this story took place 24 years ago today. The Sahara Desert in June is hot. How hot is it? It's very hot. It's damn hot. At midday, it reaches 140 degrees Fahrenheit. An exposed man could die of dehydration in less than 20 minutes. When the French ran Algeria, they required travelers to carry 5 gallons of water per person per day for the crossing. That's how much you drank. Because of the heat, you could only travel before 10 a.m. and after 4 p.m. The midday sun is so hot that if you drive, your engine oil boils and becomes as thin as water, and your vehicle seizes up and it'll never run again. 6 weeks after crossing from Gibraltar, we were ready. Jeff came back with some money from his parents, and the vehicle was in perfect condition for the crossing. We realized that if anything did go wrong and we couldn't fix it, we would most certainly die in the desert. 3 days before the big push, the actual crossing, we met 5 Germans in a Volkswagen bus who were waiting for a truck convoy that would cross in a few days. They were going to play it safe and cross with the convoy, safety in numbers. We told them we were going, convoy or no convoy, and they decided to cross with us. The Algerian government stamps your passport out of Algeria 500 miles north of the border. From there on, you're on your own, and they couldn't care less what happens to you. As far as they're concerned, You don't exist anymore. So we set out, and I remember this clearly, we set out at sunset on a Thursday following the piste, which is a French word for track, a very accurate word, track, that led straight south across the desert. We drove through the night, as we drove through the night about 50 miles out, our troubles began. Germans' vehicles sunk in and started to get bogged down in the fine sand that had blown over the track. And it also began to break down mechanically. It started getting sand in the carburetor and everything, and it began to delay us hour by hour. We had to get across the 500 miles in 2 days, or we'd be out of water. So we pressed on as fast as we could. But over and over, the German vehicle got stuck, and we had to stop and drag it out with our four-wheel drive Land Rover, losing time and using precious fuel. Jeff and I took turns driving the Land Rover while the German vehicle drove parallel with us across the flat wasteland. We kept ourselves motivated by quoting, carry on, back and forth to each other. And the next verse goes like this: and so in the strife of the battle of life, it's easy to fight when you're winning. It's easy to slave and starve and be brave when the dawn of success is beginning. But the man who can meet despair and defeat with cheer, there's the man of God's choosing. The man who can fight the heaven's own height is the man who can fight when he's losing. Carry on, things never were looming so black. But show that you have in the cowardly streak, and though you're unlucky, you never are weak. Carry on, brace up for another attack. It's looking like hell, but you never can tell. Carry on, old man. Carry on. By morning, we only made 150 miles, and we were all exhausted and a bit tense. There was an abandoned army fort in the middle of the desert, and we had hoped to shelter there from the midday sun in one of the empty buildings, and now it was too late. The sun had begun its implacable climb up the eastern sky. Still, we hurried on. So fortunately, you couldn't get lost crossing the Sahara in the daytime. The track across the desert is marked by black 55-gallon oil drums located every 5 kilometers, which is exactly the curve of the Earth's surface. You can always, as you drive, you can always see 2 oil barrels, the one you just passed and the one you're heading for. So all you have to do to cross the biggest desert on Earth is to take it 1 oil barrel at a time. Of course, traveling at night, if you wander from the piste, if you wander from the track, you can get lost in the desert and drive until you run out of gas. And many people have died that way. As we would approach each oil barrel, it's really neat. As we approach each oil barrel, we come to this oil barrel, we just come parallel with it. The next oil barrel will just pop up on the horizon. And as we pass this oil barrel, the one behind us would fall off the horizon, as though it had been shot in shooting gallery. Pretty neat. So in the years since then, I found that you can achieve almost any goal you set for yourself if you simply take it 1 oil barrel, 1 step at a time. If you go as far as you can see, you will then see far enough to go further. Now the sun really became the enemy. It sat on the horizon like a big, evil yellow cat, and then it began to rise inexorably, getting hotter and hotter as we raced south. The temperature grew hotter and hotter. Finally, at 9:30 a.m., it reached 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and the vehicles began coughing and stalling. We signaled between the 2 vehicles and agreed to stop and wait out the heat, right there in the middle of that 25,000 square mile parking lot. You never felt so small in your entire life. I'll never forget that day. Hour after hour, we sat in our vehicles like sitting in a bake-up, prostrate from the pounding heat of the sun that reached 140 degrees Fahrenheit by noon and seemed to hang there, seemed to stay there forever. We drank quart after quart of water, our throats going bone dry, minutes after gulping down a full canteen. It was worse outside, so we just stayed in the vehicles and suffered hour after hour. Finally, as the afternoon wore on, the temperature slowly began to fall. By 4 p.m., it was down to 105 degrees. When it finally got below 100 degrees Fahrenheit at 5 p.m., we started on. But now we were racing the clock. We only made about 200 miles in the last almost 24, and we still had 300 miles to go. There's a small oasis and army post on the other side of the desert, and we knew we had to get there before the midday sun caught us again. We hadn't slept since Thursday morning. It was now Friday evening. We pushed on over the desert, and the Germans' vehicle kept breaking down. All night, exhausted, we worked to get the Volkswagen bus with the Germans across to the other side. We were both desperate and scared. We knew that we could not last another day. Our water was almost gone. When the sun rose slowly on Saturday morning, we were still struggling with the German vehicle. Finally, at 9 a.m., with 20 miles to go, their vehicle broke down for the last time. They quickly abandoned it. We loaded the 5 Germans in the back of the Land Rover and headed for the fort and the oasis. An oasis, by the way, is a place where there's one well with a bucket. It's an oasis. It was further than we thought, but we made it just before the heat forced us to stop. we were all aware of how close we had come to actually dying in the desert. Those Arabs knew what they were talking about. So we set out to heat that day in a native hut near the fort, and then we went back that evening and towed the Volkswagen bus into the army post. We had done it. We were over the Sahara. We hadn't slept. We hadn't slept for 2.5 days when we had made it. I won't go into the details of what happened on the rest of our trip across Africa, except to say that we did finally get to Johannesburg 2 or 3 months later. I won't trouble you with how we had to cross 2 countries illegally with the police and the army on orders to shoot to kill when they saw us. And I won't go into how we were almost killed under the boots and rifle butts of a mob of soldiers in the Congo. That was another close one. And I won't talk here about the experience of meeting and working with Dr. Albert Schweitzer in his hospital village in Lamborghini. I'll wrap up this story here by telling you what I learned about life and success in the Sahara crossing. Here are 7 rules you can apply to any challenge that you face in achieving anything you desire. Rule number 1, the most important key to achieving great success is to decide upon your goal and then launch. Get started, take action, do something, move. A 12-year study at Babson College concluded that the act of taking the first step is what separates the losers from the winners, so the winners from the losers. We set out at the age of 20 with $300 each to cross 3 continents and travel 17,000 miles from Vancouver on the west coast to Johannesburg in southern Africa. And we made it in just under 12 months. But the most important step was the first one. All the rest followed. Number 2, once you've launched towards your goal, never consider the possibility of failure. The Germans have a saying, it's immer vorne, nie zurück. Immer vorne, nie zurück. And it means always forward, never backward. Always forward, never backward. Never consider the possibility of failure. Every person here is here because they refused to quit when the going got rough. Your ability to persist in the face of setbacks and disappointments is vital to all great achievement, and it's always a decision that you make. It's not the external environment, it's always the internal environment. Number 3, the biggest goal in the world can be accomplished if you just take it 1 oil barrel at a time. Thomas Carlyle once wrote that our great business is not to see what lies dimly at a distance, but to do what lies clearly at hand. The only time you will ever have is now. If you live every day, every hour, the best you can, the rest will take care of itself. As the Bible says, sufficient unto the day are the cares thereof. Number 4, watch out for the naysayers. The negative people around you are always telling you that you'll die in the desert. Get around positive people. Get around winners, like people in this room. Fly with the eagles and refuse to listen to objections and reasons why you can't succeed. Someone once said that if every possible objection was first be overcome, nothing will ever get done. And truer words were never spoken. Number 5, welcome obstacles and difficulties as valuable and inevitable steps on the ladder of success. Remember that difficulties come not to obstruct, but to instruct. Difficulties come not to obstruct, but to instruct. Our trip to Africa was one problem after another. We ran out of money over and over. We strained every muscle of our bodies trying to ride bicycles across France and Spain. Our Land Rover broke down again and again. We suffered from dysentery, heat stroke, and exhaustion. But when it was time, we were ready for the Sahara crossing. In retrospect, we saw clearly that without the lessons that we learned from our mistakes, we would have surely died in the desert. And when you look back on any achievement, you will find that it's preceded by many difficulties and many lessons. They are the price that you pay for your success, and no success is possible without them. Number 6, be clear about your goal, but be flexible about the process of achieving it. Be willing to change, to try something new. Keep your mind open and fluid and flexible. Be willing to accept feedback from your environment and correct your course. This is a key quality of peak performers. They're not rigid, they're flexible. Remember, it's not what you have, but what you do with what you have that separates winners from losers. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to what happens to you that counts. In the final analysis, your response to the adversity of life is the real measure of who you are and what you're made of. The Greek philosopher Epictetus once said that circumstances do not make the man or woman. They merely reveal him to himself. You find out who you really are when you face adversity. And remember, number 7, last rule is nobody does it alone. At every step on our journey across Africa, people helped us with advice, and with food, and with assistance, and with money. but especially with warmth and with kindness and with generosity. When life is over, it will be the people that we lived and laughed and loved with that we remember more than anything else. So don't be afraid to ask for help from others. It's a mark of strength, courage, and character. And don't be reluctant to give of yourself to others generously. It's the mark of caring and compassion and personal greatness. The reason the Sahara story was so relevant for me was that because after the Sahara, I never felt that there was anything I couldn't do. I felt programmed for success for life, although it took me many years to understand it. And the reason why this story may be of interest to you is because I believe that everyone has a Sahara to cross, perhaps more than one. Many of you are crossing your own Saharas right now. Everyone eventually goes through periods of great difficulty, their own private hells, their dark nights of the soul. But it is by facing whatever life gives us with courage and determination that we grow more surely toward the stars. Let me leave you with the last verse of Carry On. There are some who drift out in the deserts of doubt, and some who in negativity wallow. There are others I know who in piety go because of a heaven to follow. But to labor with zest and to give of your best for the sweetness and joy of the giving, to help folks along with a hand and a song, why there's the real sunshine of living. Carry on, fight the good fight and true. There's big work to do. Believe in your mission, greet life with a cheer. There's big work to do, and that's why you're here. Carry on, let the world be the better for you. So at last when you die, let this be your cry. Carry on, my soul, carry on. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will resolve, with whatever life hands you, to carry on, there is nothing that can stop you from achieving the greatness for which you were created. Thank you. Here.
Guys, thanks, Mike. I told you guys you liked that one. Isn't that great? Huh? Robert W. Service. He was a ambulance driver in World War II, and he got famous with these poems.
You know what it fella's like?
How'd you like that, Travis? Isn't that great?
What?
Okay, let me ask you this. What are one or two things that maybe hit you, made sense to you, maybe it made you think? And I'd like to start out here with, let's see, Jean.
It's interesting because before he even got to it and said it, I had remembered it from something that we previously had talked about or listened to, and that is that objections are to instruction.
Right, and obstacles are here to instruct and obstruct. There's a reason that we're all doing this. There's, if we knew every thing that was going to happen before we did this business, we would probably not get in this business. If we knew what we were getting into in life, we may not get into the stuff that we did in life. And we're different because we went through those things. We went through those adversities and obstacles, and that's what makes us who we are. Agree? Robert?
No one ever does it alone.
No one does it alone. That's why we're doing this. We don't do it alone. We have people. We grow, right? Karen?
I like the welcome the difficulties and obstacles to learn from.
Right. Good. Charlie?
I like his closing here where he said, when you hit that Sahara or whatever your challenge is at the moment, face it with courage and determination.
Face with courage and determination, because everybody's crossing the Sahara, and more than one sometimes. And believe me, we all have had that, haven't we? We've all had those struggles and difficulties and challenges, but the beauty of it is we come out better on the other side. I don't think I've ever had an adversity or challenge where I've never come out better on the other side. Do you guys agree? Rob?
I like the concept where he said success is as predictable as the sun.
Rising and setting the line.
Yeah, so it doesn't happen by accident.
No, it doesn't. Alice?
I like the every great adventure starts with faith.
An act of faith. Every great adventure starts from an act of faith. When we decided to get in this business, what do we think? I can do this. Every great adventure starts with an act of faith. Anything you ever start in your life, every great adventure starts with an act of faith, right? I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. Now we have to keep that faith going, right? Mike, did you say something yet? No.
That was, I marked two things. One was what Alistair said. The other one was when he said quitting is a habit.
Yeah.
We talked about the guy who quit, and his biggest mistake.
Yeah.
He has a friend of his who quit, and he still regrets it to this day that he did not cross the Sahara with Brian. That friend still regrets. His life has never been the same because he quit at one time. Angela.
Once you launch, never consider the possibility of failure.
That's right. What?
I like the, it's one step at a time, one oil barrel at a time. You don't see the one you're going to until the
Pops off.
Never.
There's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. Trevor.
The one that I liked is kind of a re-emphasis on what my coach in college would always say, but your reaction to adversity makes a person for the most part. And that's something I've lost sight of quite often. And it's so easy to see people kind of escape off doing something else. If something goes bad, hey, I'm going to resort to drinking or something like that.
That's right.
Or go the easy route. And it just kind of drove that back home for me. It's like, you know, hey, if something goes wrong, it's how you react to it that really makes you
That's right.
who you are.
That's right. Good point. Good. Andrew.
I kind of like the distinction on, you know, not only is quitting as a habit, but it's a pattern of failure. You know, it was
a pattern of failure. Exactly. And people do it all the time. I see it every day. But I also see people, I assume they can't make it, and all of a sudden they're here. They're doing it. They're making it. They're living a dream. I've had people who lost 90, 100 pounds in my class, and I think, I don't know if they're going to make it. And they do. And you're just amazed at their results. And I think that all, you know, that Brian Tracy DVD today it should have hit home for you. And I'll tell you why it hit home for me. First one is decide upon your goal and launch. So many people overthink it. Just do it. Just decide upon your goal and launch. I remember when I had my first, when I did Nick's Pro Fitness, and I told Mr. Newton I was going to do it, and he says, you haven't done it yet? I said, no, sir. He goes, well, what are you waiting for? Start tomorrow. That's what he told me. He goes, start now. I go, yes, sir, I'll do it. And I did. The next day, I got an ad, and I started my business. That's how I started. I decided upon a goal, and I launched. So when you decide you're going to do what we're doing here, you have to launch. You have not failure to launch, but launch. And remember, you are going to have people that do it two ways. You're going to look at Robbie. Robbie's like, I'm in. That guy the other night. Wyatt. So open-minded. You're going to have every spectrum of person in your life. It's part of the deal. Do I get every single person, like I said last week, that comes in and says, I want to go to Nick's Pro Fitness and I want to sign up? No. However, because I'm good at what I do, I get 80%. Because of the questions I ask and the way I set it up and the way I build value, I get a better shot at them than any trainer in town because I know they don't have my experience. They will not ask good questions. They will not create that environment of a good experience when they walk in the class. I do. I know how to set the whole thing up. I've been doing it a long time. So I have a better chance. I have a better closing ratio. So the goal is what? Better closing ratio. Now the next one, what was it? Number 2, always forward, never backward. And he said something before that. You guys know what he said?
Never consider it possible.
Never consider the possibility of failure. Do not consider the possibility of failure. Think about it this way. Most of us have been on this product for a while now. How do you feel when you're on the product? You feel amazing, don't you? So why wouldn't you want to share that with everyone else? And they don't know it because they don't know it. And everybody's apprehensive because they don't know. You know, anytime you make a decision to do something, if there's always, they need more information, they're apprehensive. Our job is to educate and train and inspire them so they can have the same experience that we're having every day. That's what we're doing. And never consider the possibility that you're ever going to quit. Think about it this way. You've been doing this, what, 2 months? How long have you been doing
Business, just over
Yeah.
here.
Okay, a year. 2.5 months. About 2 months. Couple months. 4 months. 2, 3 months. A year.
12 months.
12 months. I can tell you the yoga place over here, right down the street, spent $200,000 on build outs.
Hmm.
How long do you think it'd take to get their money back?
Here.
Maybe never.
Yeah.
How about the dummy that opened up that fitness place over here? No, that guy, what's his name? Sam. What's it called? So it's in the Safeway?
Oh, anytime fitness.
No, anytime. That's another dummy.
No, I know.
Wrong dummy. Different dummy.
What's it called? Dynamic fitness. Dynamic fitness. So I walk in, they introduced myself one day. He goes, I used to work at the health club before you got there. I said, really? He was a front desk guy. So as I walked in, I gotta believe the rent's 5 G's a month. I think it's 5,500. My building mortgage is 67. His square footage is about 2,500. My square footage is about 20,000. My mortgage is 6,700. His rent is 5,500. So I walk in and I look, and he's got all these things in bubble wrap. What is in bubble wrap when he just first opened his business? All the equipment he just bought.
Yeah.
I was estimating 100
Yeah.
plus more last month's rent, flooring. What's the return? How long do you think it's going to take him to return? The average business in America, you get your return in 3 to 5 years, and you start making money 5 to 7 years out. How fast can you make money doing this?
Straight away. First month.
What's
First
the
month.
investment? $500?
First month.
$500. So all these people they're probably not going to make it. And they spent their life savings. This guy mortgaged his house. He sold the house to get the business, and his business is doing terrible. I know for a fact because I know somebody who knows him, and he's probably going to not make it. So it's sad.
Is that where Anthony's was?
No, that's Anytime. They have 4 owners with a 2,500 square foot place. I'm sure they're really making lots of profit there. But what I'm saying is, there is no outlay, and you can do whatever you want to do. There's no what? Inventory.
No employees.
There's no
Employees,
equipment.
that's the best one.
There's nothing.
No employees.
No employees.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
And they're going to probably lose all their money. And their return on investment, they have to wait 2-3 years to even get a return, or 4 or 5 years to get a return on investment. See, I was smart enough to know that I'll start at my house and I'll get money immediately. I wasn't dumb. I just put it in my house, opened the bedroom, and come on in, right?
Yeah.
Then I bought a carpet for like $400 at Carpet Exchange. Come on in. Found somebody to put me a heater in. Come on in. I made profit immediately. And that's one of the things. I never bought a piece of equipment that wasn't used. Bought a Stairmaster from the athletic club, $200. I bought another one, $200. I went to auctions. All these clubs closed. I bought the auction. I bought the auctioneers. Pulled them right off the wall, put them on my wall. That's how I started my business. I wasn't stupid enough to go in debt to start a business. And all these people, they go in debt. That's why the beautiful thing is, what are you losing if you quit? You're losing just the greatest opportunity in the world. What they're losing is they're losing their life savings. So the only reason why people have it, you never can consider the possibility of failure, because if you just keep doing it, you'll succeed. And if you're in 2 years, if you dig into this sucker for 2 years and you say, okay, I just started my business. When I first started my business, I had 1 person walk in the door. Then you have 2, then you have 3, then you have 4, then you have 10, then you have 15, then you have 20, then you have 30. But it takes courageous patience and patience, doesn't it?
So
You can't do it overnight. It takes, you're developing yourself, your practice skill sets, everything you need to be successful at this. Wouldn't you agree? So don't worry about it. Just keep plugging away, bringing people to a meeting, getting the right person in. And if you get 4 or 5 people in there that are off and running and they're on fire, man, that's all it takes. Like a June and a Jan, oh man, bam, right? And that's all it takes. And you know what? All of a sudden it'll happen in waves, because sales happens in waves. You know, I would be nobody coming in. Like, I think I signed up 7 or 8 this month for Nick's Pro Fitness. That's okay. It's good. It's a good month. What?
This month sucks.
For you? No, it's been a good month for me. But I'm saying I have, my average is I want to average 6 to 7 a month for my business. So does that make sense? So, okay, the next one. The big goal is 1 hour at a time, and the only time is now. The only time is now.
Yep.
Only time you have is now. This is now. What we're in here doing is now. I really, training is only expensive when you don't do it, and that's what people do. They don't train.
Right.
And how do you expect to make, it's like, how do I deserve a black belt if I don't work out? How do I deserve to wear a rank if I don't do anything about it, if I don't practice every day? You know, I was soaking wet when we were in here, right? We were soaking wet. But if I don't do that every day, my proficiency level drops. If you don't practice this every day, your proficiency level drops. So all you have to do is 1 oil barrel at a time. One thing at a time. One thing at a time. One invite at a time. All of a sudden, you look back at the year and you've invited 80 people to a lunch or a night. And everybody knows we're doing night ones now, which is going to be probably good for a lot of us. And Scott is going to be here.
Is that instead of lunch?
So fill the room.
Are we canceling lunches?
Right now,
For
we're
the
canceling lunches. For now. Just dinner,
Yeah,
just
you
night.
think it's nice.
Dinner, not dinner.
Okay.
Right.
Number 4 is
Yeah.
watch out for the naysayers. I'm reading this great book on MLM. It's somewhere around here. It's in my bag, I think, over here. It's an MLM book. I think it's right here. I got it. MLM Blueprint. This is a great book. This guy, here's my exposure to MLM, he said. You ever read this book?
Not that one.
Okay, so I got it from one of my students. This guy is 22 years old. I told you a story last night. And his dad owns an electrical contracting business and a remodeling business. So he is remodeling somebody's house. He's part-time from college. He comes home and he's remodeling this guy's house. He goes, geez, this is a huge house. Now, before that, there was a guy in his neighborhood when he was riding his bike when he was a kid, this newspaper guy. He goes, that guy's got a big house. And one friend goes, yeah, he's in some kind of pyramid scheme. That's why he's making all this money. You know, that was his negative reflection of network marketing. And then he goes, wow, well, that's interesting. I want to know more about that. He's 14. So that was his first exposure. Second exposure to network marketing was he was 22. He's in a house. He's remodeling, putting up a chandelier. And he sees this guy talking to his older brother. He goes, what is that guy, 25? How can he afford this house? What's his name? What does he do? He goes, well, he's in some business, some, personal development. I'm not sure what he's doing. And so 7 years goes by. His brother gets into A.L. Williams, and he's all excited. And 3 weeks later, his brother gets electrocuted in an electrical job. That was then, but his brother loved network marketing. He was 29. He's sitting in a meeting, and he gets involved with Nu Skin. And this guy goes, well, my upline is a guy named Craig Tillotson. He goes, Craig Tillotson. He goes, I worked on his house as 22 years old. That's the same guy. He goes, yeah, he makes $500,000 a month. A month. So that was his exposure to network marketing. So he was all over it. And then he invented something for conference calls, and he got to travel around with guys that made $100,000 to $750,000 a month in the network marketing business. Let me ask, what kind of effect on your mind would that have?
You're broke. It breaks you for the rest of your life.
No, what it does is it makes you think it's possible. It's a possibility. And he says that we have blocks. He says we have a checklist. He goes, what others think and feel about LM? What do you think and feel? What do you choose to expose yourself? And he says the 3 shutdowns are your prospect shuts you down, your team member shuts you down, when duplication in your team shuts down, and how do you get over that? And he goes, the 3 rise and buzz is what when people rise and cheer for you, when you rise and cheer for people, and when your check rises and you cheer. Isn't that true? But then he goes on to say, and he's got this whole explanation of MLM, but the one thing I loved that he had to say was this. He said, your heart, your mind, and your genius guide you there. Stand up and think for yourself. He said, fact number 1, personal success is never determined by what someone else thinks, especially someone who knows very little about what excites you. Fact number 2, personal success is always determined by what you think and how you feel about what excites you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number 3, you attract what you think and feel. You choose to think and feel for yourself, or you can allow others to think and feel for you. It's your feeling. What did you say to me? I don't care what anybody thinks. Then you tell me that one day?
Yeah.
Because this is something I want to do. Who cares? It's a business.
Right.
And I have it all in this book here. This is interesting, guys. You talked about Robert Kiyosaki and that thing Rise, which is really cool, isn't it? Isn't it, Andrew?
Yes, sir.
And I think I have it in here. Have you seen Rise of the Entrepreneur? It's awesome. And basically, here it is. He says, it's amazing. Let me see if I can find it on the next page. Here it is. According to the 2009 research done by Direct Selling Association, the MLM industry is over 100 years old and a $28.3 billion, which we know it's even higher now, right? It's about $772 billion. Globally, the statistic is much higher. MLM is an approximately $114 billion global profession involving 65 million people. Compare that to the well-known industries, the NFL at $9 billion. Worldwide music industry is $66 billion, and the global movies and entertainment market is $109. Word of mouth creates a spectacular platform. So here's what he says. Let's start with the accurate information about MLM profession. When we talk about network marketing, we are talking about not some rogue unproven profession. Many popular classic leaders, including Jim Rohn and Robert Kiyosaki, have shared valuable information about this profession. They think that the wave of the future is networking.
Yep.
That's it. They think the 40-hour-a-week job is off to the wayside. It's not going to happen anymore. And so once you decide that you're over that, you're going to move forward. He says people have blocks about network marketing yourself and why you wouldn't ask somebody to get involved. And all I can tell you is we just need to get over it. Because this is a business that could create a great future for you. I have an accountant here, John Thompson. You know John. And Charlie and I were talking about this. What did he say? What did he tell you about this one lady from a network marketing company?
Oh, yeah, she's been involved, I think it was
Avon.
For years.
20 years ago.
Then she got out of it 20 years. She just got tired of doing it. But she still has $40,000 a year in residual income.
A month.
No, and he said it was a year.
A year.
Oh, it was a year.
Yeah, but she hasn't done nothing because her husband's a multi-millionaire. She goes, I don't want to do any more. She's getting $40,000 a year just doing nothing. And she quit 20 years ago. That's what residual income is. If we really leverage that money, it's better than having insurance. Say it. If I die, if you die, you get a lot of money. You don't get to watch. You don't have any. You don't get to enjoy it, right? You gotta die to get it. So, and it says fact number 4, those who have a strong MLM blueprint rarely, if ever, hear negative from others. Why? They attract what they think and feel. So you are a living magnet. You attract people that harmonize with your thoughts. So if your attitude is right, your mindset is right, you're going to attract people in this business that say, yeah, I want part of that. I want some of that. When I explain an invite to somebody, they're like, I want to know what you're doing. Just like I told Chris, I go, Chris, he goes, I'm in, Nick. I want to see it. Because I explained it well. He goes, what's the company? I kept going. It doesn't matter about the company. I said, just talk to Scott. I didn't say that. I go, Scott's going to give you a call. He goes, I'm looking forward to it. So when Scott gets off the phone, what do you think is going to happen? He's going to be pretty excited. Because I said, you had a lot of money. You lost a lot of money. He lost a lot of money in this 30-year-old thing. I said, you were on the top. Now you're in the bottom. I want to get you back on the top. And he has the same story you do. He has the same exact story you have. Losing it all and then getting it all back. All right, number 5. You can follow a blueprint created by past failures and cynical thinking, or you can follow a blueprint created by your excitement, your desires, and the examples of successful people around you. Because what happens is, think about Scott Pardulis' situation. He was retired up till 39 years old. All completely retired. Would you?
Yeah.
Right? Never had to work again. He had 4. You ever heard this story? He had 4 houses worth over $1 million each. He had a warehouse. He had all this stuff. And he told us in the car, he goes, want to hear a cool story? Didn't he?
Yeah.
He goes, I went broke. I lost everything. I said, how did you lose everything? Well, you had all that. He had a partner that swindled him. And then his partner went to jail. So here he is, 39 years old, and then his health started to fail. Remember, he had the blackouts and all the stuff, and he was going to die. So here he is. He got his house repossessed, his car repossessed. He had nothing. I mean, nothing. How many here have nothing? I would guarantee nobody in this room has nothing. Not even a car. They took his car away. And here he is with his health back. 3 years later, he's where? Because you know what? It's not becoming the millionaire as important as what you had to do to develop yourself to become the millionaire. It's the character that you have built. It's the person you have built. It's the black belt that you have built. If I was a black belt in Taekwondo, do you think it would be hard for me to go get a black belt in karate? No, it wouldn't, because I know what it took to be a black belt.
Right.
So it's not the money per se, it's the person you had to become to make the money. So what could he do again? Go turn around and make the money again. So it's more important to have that mindset of a millionaire mindset, a millionaire attitude, a millionaire working on yourself attitude, because that's what's going to get you to the top level of this business. True. That's it. It's the black belt mentality that you have to have, because if you have that mentality that I read books every day, I listen to CDs, I wrap around. I mean, and I've told you guys this. I am in the kitchen washing dishes, listening to Dave Pitcock and Barb Pitcock's story, because I know if I flood my mind with the right thinking, if you change your thinking, you change your life. That's pretty much it, guys. And that's what we need to do on a day-to-day basis. That's why I think doing this training every week is so important to our life. Not just for you, for me. And when you do this every day, your mind is where? Positive, correct? And you said it best. Every week you do this, you get a little down, you're right back up. You get a little down, you're right back up. It's kind of like exercise. You work out every day. You know, by the time you get there at night, you're like tired, like today, and all of a sudden you finish, you feel what?
Right.
Fantastic. Our goal is to feel good every day. Our goal is to feel alive, it's excited, pumped up, so that way we can take and transfer that enthusiasm to somebody else that may want to get in this business. But you're never going to get somebody in this business if you're depressed and you're negative and you're down and you're having a bad moment. You need to get out of that moment and get your mindset right before you start talking to people, because it is a law of attraction. You harmonize with people and circumstances that your dominant thoughts are creating. So if you're positive and you're excited and you're enthusiastic, what kind of people are you going to attract? Like this morning, I felt great this morning. Even though I didn't work out, I worked out in Taekwondo. People walk up, hey, how you doing? That guy said, I feel great. Now I was sore. I said, I feel great. Why do I say I feel great even if I don't feel great yet?
Mindset.
I want to feel great. So I say, I feel great. I feel great. Now, how great were my kicks today? They were great.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty great.
Pretty great. I said, watch this. Bam. Because I manufacture a positive attitude every day. Every day, I try to manufacture my attitude so it serves me to be successful in both businesses. And you know what? The first impression people have is your enthusiasm and your attitude. So when you touch somebody and say, very nice to meet you, they're going to see you. They're going to feel you. And so when we have those word tracks and you're talking to somebody in the Firestone store, you're talking to somebody and say, so, you know, just like I told Marianne when she was walking up the stairs, I said, so how's that job going? I said, when do you retire? She goes, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, well, I got plan B for it, and I got to show it to you. See how I said it? It was like a sense of urgency. I got something to show you. Just like I said to this another lady, Pam, here. I said, Pam, she goes, business is down. Oh, yeah. That's my answer. I said, well, I got something else for you that could change your life financially in 2 years. You got to give me now an open mind. She goes, I'm open. I said, great, because I'm going to show it to you. You're going to love it. But if I don't do that, I'm practicing, guys. I'm practicing all the time. What did I do on Thursday night for 40 minutes or 45 minutes?
You counseled a crew out of, I think, Wyoming. They were on Oklahoma. Nick was talking to them for 45 minutes, giving them instruction and different tips and so forth. Yeah.
Okay, here's
teaching, training.
Yeah, I'm teaching. Why do you think I said yes?
To the ripping.
Okay, why do you think when I was a red belt, Mr. Red Belt, black stripe, and Mr. Lose last time to go to Phoenix because his hips were so bad, and he says, who wants to take over class? And I go, I'll do it. Why do I do it? Because when you teach, you become better faster. So I said, if I'm going to teach, I'll become what I teach. So I taught one Taekwondo class a week in Dempster Junior High in Des Plaines. So all of a sudden, the black belt started to fall off because Mr. Newton left. I became a black belt. Guess how many classes I was teaching after I was black belt? Just take a guess.
12.
5 days a week. Every day, twice a day. How good do you think I got? Matter of fact, nobody wanted, this is not a word of a lie, like Brian said, no one. They wouldn't even train with anybody but me. And they were third degrees. I was a first degree because I was so much better because I taught, I trained, I taught, I trained. So you want to be great at this business, teach it to everyone. Talk to Gian every day. Talk to me. Mike and I talk. Rob and I talk. Alice and I talk. We talk, right? I'm always talking to somebody. Now, the last piece of this is beautiful. I love what this guy said here. And he's just trying to say, this is a great business, and this is why you need to get into it. He said, 90% of the population works as employees. They all have known, that's what they have been trained to believe it's good and normal. Only 10% own their own businesses, according to the Kaufman Foundation study on entrepreneurial activity. It's that the same 90% who are giving you their opinions about MLM, do you really think they are qualified to direct your future? Right? They're not. Remember, this wasn't even network marketing business. When I decided, and I've told you this, when I decided to launch the Mixed Pro Fitness workout business, a lady told Heather, you are making the biggest mistake of your life. You let him do that, he is going to fail. He is going to fail. Because what people want to do is what? They want you to be, they want you to be like them.
Right.
How dare you risk something?
Right.
How dare you take a chance on yourself? So many people don't want you to take a chance on yourself. They think, well, let's see how you do. Okay, yes, you.
They love you to get ahead. Just don't get ahead of me.
Correct.
That's right.
And I don't even think about it. I just, whatever, man. I don't. So to me, being an entrepreneur has been something I've done my whole life. Having my back against the wall, like he said, obstacles come to instruct, not to obstruct. When your back is against your wall and your survival is at stake, you get really creative in how successful you want to be. Isn't that right? But if you never had that because you had a job your whole life, nothing wrong with a job. But if you have never took your own cash, put it on the line, drove out to Las Vegas with $20 in your pocket to go sell John Palumbi, and hopefully you'll make some sales. Otherwise, you're going to starve. That's when survival is at stake. That's when you know what you're made of. That's what this business is. It creates stronger people, doesn't it? It creates a stronger mindset. You have to have a stronger mindset to be in this business than anyone else.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this. I want a strong mindset. I want a strong attitude. Because if your attitude's strong, your mindset is strong, nobody can stop you. They can't stop you, but you're extraordinary. Because when you make it and you start making money in this business, like, oh my God, you're making money. I said, damn right I'm making money. Damn straight I'm making money. Because I took a chance on me. That's what you're doing. You're taking a chance on yourself. That's what entrepreneurship is. And that's what Robert Kiyosaki's talking about. The world's going to belong to the network marketers. And Robert Kiyosaki is not a dummy. You guys know who does not know who Robert Kiyosaki is? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He wrote a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Do you know how I know Robert Kiyosaki? You want to know how I know him?
My student.
Mountain climbers down. 1, 2. Here he is. Here I am. Except he can't keep up with me because he's too out of shape. I love what he said about Mr. Newton. This is what he said about Mr. Newton. He's training with Mr. Newton. He lost 64 pounds. He had a heart problem and everything. I think he hasn't been back in a while. And he said, how did you become successful with Mr. Newton? He goes, well, it was the ungodly amounts of punishment that he put me through that made me successful. Because every time he'd be up and waiting, he'd be 1,000 mountain climbers, 2,000 mountain climbers, 3,000 mountain climbers, 4,000 mountain climbers. And here's a guy super successful, and Mr. Newton's going, get over and give me 5,000. Does he care? He doesn't care. Changed his life, though. All right, we got a couple more to go through. Obstacles come to instruct, not to obstruct. We talked about that. I love this. Keep your goal on your mind. Be flexible about how you do it. And you know what? Sometimes you're going along, you got to shift gears. Hardly. But you have to have that goal in front of you. You have to have that dream. What motivates me every morning to get up, and I am religious about this. I read last night before I went to bed. I took my vision, like my vision right here, and I rewrote it last week. And my vision statement is this. See, I've got a bunch here. There's my Youngevity Black Belt strategy. This is why I want to do the business. This is my goal. I own a house on Puget Sound, the Straits of Juan de Fuca. I wake up every morning to beautiful forests and oceans. I see seals, eagles, wildlife and eagles outside my window every day. It's my sanctuary. I deserve it. Now, I wrote another one. I wrote a victory list, about 44, and I keep adding to it. Look at that. What's it say?
I own my own fitness center.
Yep. I own my fitness center. I have trained thousands of people. I won many tournaments. I won physical fitness award in my high school. I ran my own Taekwondo school at 21 years old. Took care of my dad when he got sick. Bought my first house at 22. Bought my second house at 24. Bought my third house at 24. Started 2 businesses at 21. Went to work for Brian Tracy at 25. So those are my victory lists. You know why I put a victory list down? Because it makes me feel good when I look at it. How do you feel when you remember your past successes? You feel great.
Really good.
So what Dave Pickock said is, remember the feel good from the past and transfer it to the future. Why would that make me feel good? So if I took my house and I said, why would that make me feel good? He goes, because I want to see those eagles and wildlife on my deck, and I want to wake up in the morning and smell that trees and smell the forest around my house. That's what makes me feel good. And then I put down, here's my vision. I am the top producer with Youngevity. I earn $15,000 a month by October 1st, 2015. With this awesome business, I am obsessed about this goal of mine. I will help inspire my team to develop the skills to be successful and to achieve all of their dreams and goals. I will not stop until I succeed. It's my time. Nick Capandy, I signed it. Plumby told me to sign my goals, so I signed them.
There you go.
That makes a commitment to it, right? Well, that's my vision right there. I did that last week. There's another. I have 8 or 9 visions now. All right. And the last one is no one does it alone. We don't do it alone, guys. That's kind of the reason why I started doing this, because I know for me that we don't train, we don't work out, we're going to get out of shape. And what we're trying to do is keep our mental shape, our mental, physical, and physical fitness. Because if you're doing this every day, how are you going to feel when it's all said and done? You're going to feel better about your business. Doesn't that give you a perspective when I showed you the book and what he talked about? It's a perspective. And when you really think about it, if you work the business, just work the business. Just ask people. That's really what it comes down to, is asking people to get involved, isn't it? Or getting them to go to a meeting. If you get them to go to a meeting with Scott Fardulis, what's the chances of them signing up? I'd say 60 to 70%, right? How lucky are we to have Scott Fardulis?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Sickening. Do you know how many people said to me at that Kansas City retreat? What did they say? Man, I can't believe you guys got Scott Fardulis every day. Man, I can't believe you have Scott Fardulis in your camp every day. It's kind of like people work out with me and then they leave. I wish I was still working out with Nick. Nick is the best. I wish I was still working out with Nick. Nick was the best Taekwondo instructor I ever had. Scott's the best in the business. You're not going to get a guy better than that. If we can't succeed with Scott, there is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your job, and your only job, in my opinion, get great at invites and building your prospect list. And don't relent, guys. Think about it. Maybe you say, I'm going to invite 5 people a week to meetings. I'm going to ask 5 people. Maybe out of the 5, you get 2 or 3. If you did 2 or 3 every week for the whole month, I bet you'd be in 6 people in the business. Do you think that would change your income if you had 6 people, $130 a piece? Plus, you get they start building their business. All of a sudden, you're an SEMD. And I have proven it that SEMD can happen quick, in a month. In a month. You guys can do it in 90 days, or 2 months, or a month. I don't even care. It's your decision. It's your choice. I have 1 SEMD. I need 2 more. So let's get some more push-ups and frog leaps in. Otherwise, we're going to be doing something. You know what I'm saying, Mike?
Right here.
You hear me, Rob? So, let's go to the next page. And then we're going to work on skill sets and we're going to get done. Every great venture, I love this, starts with an act of faith. You have to, here's what I love about this too. Everything, how many people are afraid? You know the biggest reason why people don't do this? They're afraid. They're afraid of failure. I mean, God, give me a break, man. That's what life's worth living, is being in a failure. Ooh, yeah, I like that. It's every great adventure is an act of faith. We're believing in ourselves enough to say, I can do this. How many people, you're extraordinary just by doing this, because most people won't even take a shot at themselves. Now, the other thing is the belief in the invite. Believe people are going to say no. That's easy stuff, guys. That's easy. You learn an invite and you'll have more people than you could possibly imagine. You will. You have to master the invite. And we're going to talk about that more often. Winning is a habit. And any new venture, as he said, wind is in your face, man. It's right there. Any new venture, there's wind in your face. You're going to have obstacles. You're going to have shutdowns. You're going to have disappointment, setback. But you know what? If you can venture to it, you started your own business, didn't you? You have your own business, don't you?
Yes, sir.
You have your own business, right? You have your own business. You have your own business. How many carpets did you start out with? 10 a week? Okay.
I rented my own.
Right.
Rented equipment, pretended it was mine. Definitely faked it.
You faked it. So nothing starts perfect. I can tell you a story. You remember this? Remember this? Old studio. Now, you know the funny thing is? 25 businesses of fitness have gone out of business since I started my business 15 years ago, not being conservative. And what did I do? I decided in advance that I am not failing. Never considered a possibility of failure. I never did. It was August. They were re-roofing the roof. Idiots didn't put the tarp on right.
That's right.
And it rained in my studio.
Yep.
Pouring. Next day, we cleaned it up. You there, Mike?
Yes, sir.
And we shoved all the drywall to the side, and there was one little spot in the studio that wasn't wet. It worked out. Now, most people would have flipped out. I go, we're going to do it. No problem. We got it. So obstacles come to instruct. When the ceiling fell down here, we worked out on this side. The ceiling fell because there was heavy squash court. It was held by wires. So the ceiling went, and the county came in and shut me down. They were pissed off at me, Frank, the fire marshal. I went through all that crazy stuff. Now, the next time something happened, the fire marshal came in, did it flip out, or what do you think happened? Nothing. Nothing. Because it didn't bother me. Fire marshal said, all right, whatever, man, you're always here. You guys want to, okay, I forgot that's fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
And at first, oh my God, the fire marshal's here. Like, Tyler's like, I don't care. Like, we didn't care anymore.
Yeah.
The health department come in, I didn't care. What do you want? I mean, I would pretty much wouldn't care. I'd say, hey, how you doing, John? Hey, go check around. Go check at the fire, because they have to go check the extinguishers. But see, that's the difference. You get a different perspective, don't you? You get a different perspective because the wind is in your face. All right. Rise above people that tell you you can't do it. I love that. Right? Any goal is one step at a time. Okay, no problem. Decide upon a goal and launch, right? Decide. Go for it. But I am telling you, you learn so much in life. And remember they're talking about adversity today, how you have a different perspective, and how Bill came up, this guy, Bill Bent, super successful guy, runs a gigantic mortgage company, a national mortgage company. He's a ski racer. Hits a tree, no helmet. Craig Hospital for 7 months. They said he'd never have his brain back. His eyes were crossed. To get blood on the brain, and they said he'd never be the same. And he was a brilliant, brilliant man. I mean, I'm talking genius brilliant. And he could just barely slur his words. He got better and better and better. He started doing that lumosity, and he started getting better. And they said In 5-6 months, he was out of the hospital. He still didn't have all his brain faculties. And he stood up today and he gave a speech. It was incredible, wasn't it? I mean, think about the adversity he had to go through. And then I told the story of one of my Taekwondo students, Chris's kid, that was on a snowmobile in late December, and they had a snowmobile accident, and she almost died. He was going to a bowl. He was a professional football player from Seattle, but he was a Wisconsin alumni. He was probably the best offensive lineman that ever came out of Wisconsin almost, right? And he was at the bowl game, 5 minutes after he got off the plane. They said, we just flighted your 10-year-old flight for life to a hospital. She may die. Turns around, gets on a plane, he's crying, doesn't even know if she's going to die or not. And she lives. Lacerated liver, broken shoulder, broken arm, bruised lung, broken ribs. And he said he had a different appreciation. He looked at her differently. And I think sometimes we forget, adversity is our teacher, guys. It makes us who we are. When you have stories and you have overcome adversity, it makes you different. And when you're at the top of the heap, Andrew, in this business, you're going to walk up and say, look, it didn't start smooth for me. Everybody's got a story.
Yep.
It didn't start smooth for you.
That's it.
No. He went backwards. He went the wrong way. You understand what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He instead of enrolling CEOs, he enrolled people who wanted to buy product. You don't go anywhere fast that way. And then all of a sudden, we started getting together. And I was ready for the opportunity. And I was always like, I just don't have the time. I don't know. I don't have. That's all a bunch of crap. Because I wasn't investing in myself. I wasn't going for it. Is that making sense?
Sure.
So now I have the time to teach you, and I have the time to get better, and I have the time to grow my business, and I have the time for you to help you be successful in this business. This is what it's all about. I mean, think about it. Let's say 3 months from now, you guys are all SCMDs. That means everybody's making $1,300 a month, roughly. I made $1,341 first month. And I made something like $2,500, and I made $4,000. Now next month, I'm going to make more. That's my goal. I'm going to make more. But you know what I have to do? I have to enroll more people. I'm stuck at 21. I need to get to 30. So I'm not stopping because we have to do it ourselves too. And nobody does it alone. But I've been helping Rob. I've been helping Alice. I've been talking to your buddies. I've been talking to people I don't even know. But that's okay. That's what I'm. You know why I'm doing it? It's going to make me sharp. That's why I taught the Taekwondo class, because I knew if I taught every day, I'd be the best teacher. That's all I'm doing here. I want to be a sharpshooter. So if I ask your friend, what's the most important thing in your life right now? What would you like to see happen if you got in this business? Where do you see yourself at in 2 years? Did I tell him that, ask him that question? No. I said, what's going to be different now to when you turn 27? What's going to be different for Wyatt? He's like, I don't know. I said, well, I do. And all of a sudden you start changing your thinking. And all it starts with is a change of thought. What did Bill Gates say? Bill Gates said, he goes, what was the difference between you and everybody else? And what did he say? Do you guys remember the story? What did he say, Rob? Remember that story at the seminar?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
He said, it's timing. He goes, I just took advantage of it. And no one else did. Warren, you got to go? I go. See you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. You got everything you need? Okay. All right. So last thing I want to cover is, I want to cover this, but it's timing. We are in a great business with timing. Don't you agree?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm going to role play right now. We're going to role play, then we're finished, because I want to role play today. So let's say I'm talking to Angela here. Huh? We lost Loverboy there.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting there, Angela, and I'm sitting down, and we're having a conversation. And I just said to her, Angela, I'll say, so what do you do, Angela, for a living? Wow, how long have you been doing that?
6 years.
6 years. Now, how did you decide to get in that business anyways? Yes, I did.
It all started way back when my child was born premature.
Yeah.
I was actually an EMT, and I took on my grandmother-in-law so that I could stay home with my daughter. So I took care of her. I had big diapers, little diapers. The nurses told me that I'd be a great nurse.
Wow.
So I went into CNA to see if I wanted to be a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be a nurse. Mm-hmm. So then I decided, well, I'll be PT. Well, PT's not have to do doctor programs.
Mm-hmm.
I was meant to do careers.
Right.
So here I am, 6 years later, doing massage, still taking classes. I
Mm-hmm.
could have been there.
So when you're
So
not,
that's how I got.
wow, that's fantastic. That's a great story. I really do. I really think that's a cool story. And so when you're not doing massages, what do you like to do, hobby-wise, recreation? Do you get a lot of time to do that or not, right? Or anymore? I said, how would you like me to help you get more time doing that? No, yes, I am. Actually, I am. I said, and then I would go into it. So what I'm doing here right now, guys, is I'm asking questions to see where she's at. So if I say recreation, and said, and Scott did it beautifully on the phone one day. So you would like to have more time with your family and your friends?
Yes.
Okay. So I can help you do that. Would you like me to help you do that?
Yes.
Okay. So what I want you to do, I have an extraordinary opportunity for you. I need an hour and an open mind. I'm going to show you something that could change your life financially in 2 years. Let's go to lunch. That's the best part. Trust me. Let's go to lunch. Great. So maybe does it work 100% of the time? No, it doesn't. But it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Now, I'm going to go through every single one of these, and you pick the one you like. Is this okay, Andrew? You get my one?
Yes, sir.
So I'm trying to, and the biggest thing with role playing, guys, you need to put yourself in a bubble. So when I'm talking to somebody, I'm not thinking about you guys around me. I'm thinking about this. So when I do a pattern or a Taekwondo pattern, all I'm doing is I am putting myself in a bubble. And all I'm doing is not thinking of you guys when I'm doing this. So if I say to Jan, so Jan, or I'll say to Kent, so Kent, what do you do for a living?
I'm an insurance agent and an
Wow.
investment advisor.
An investment advisor. What kind of investments do you do?
Stocks, bonds, annuities, mutual funds, stuff like that.
Great. So how long are you going to be till you retire?
I don't know. I don't have a retirement plan. I love what I'm doing, so
Might do it for a while.
I'll do it for a while. Yeah.
Well, I got a plan B for you. I need an hour and open mind.
What is it?
That's the best part. I need to show it to you. You need my buddy Scott. He's my I'm going to say upline, but so here's what we're going to do. All right. You come on over here. You come over here. Okay, so I wouldn't be talking to somebody sitting down. I always be talking to somebody standing up because nobody sits down. And I'm always in a hurry. I'm always in a hurry. I don't. They say, look, Ken, I was thinking about you. I said, I have something extraordinary I have to show you. I need an hour and open mind. And you're going to say, what is it?
What is it?
Trust me, you're going to love it. You're going to say, what is it?
Yeah.
What is it? It's something I have to show you. I have my business partner, Scott. He's the best in the business. I need you to meet him. Let's go to lunch.
Okay.
Great. It's going to be at Rio del Sol. It's going to be at 11:30. So what I'll do is I'll give you a call, but I am looking forward to having you at lunch, and you're really going to love what I have to show you. It's a game changer. Sounds good, Kent?
Sounds good.
Great. So I'm just kind of throwing stuff out. Does that sound? I do it better in person, but I'm just giving you an idea.
You're going to say it? What is it? What is it? Trust me, you're going to say it?
So,
What is it? What is it? It's something I have to show you.
right.
I need more information. I need to know what it is.
Right.
How do I
Right.
deal with that?
So here's what I say. Yeah, I understand you need more information. It's really important for you. But I said, hey, here's what I would say. I said, I understand I'm debugging the objection. So I said, I understand this is important to you. You want to know more information. I said, it's something I have to show you. I can't tell you something I have to show you. The reason why is Scott's the main guy. He does the presentation. And I don't want to screw up this opportunity for you. And all I'm asking for is an hour and open mic. Fair enough? Do you see how I'm doing that?
Yeah.
I understand. I understand you want to know information, and I want to give it to you, but I don't want to screw it up. I just started doing this. I think you'd be perfect at this. I need you to meet Scott. He makes about $80,000 a month, and I think you're going to love this. Give me now an open mic. Will that work? I think it would work.
Well, I've got issues with some of my jobs because now I've got this, well, it's a conflict of interest.
How do you mean?
Well, I guess maybe I shouldn't have told them what it was all about.
Yeah, you follow. So do you see how I work it? I'm very smooth, very relaxed. And if I'm opening it up with a stranger, I'll ask him a lot of questions. Like for example, at the Firestone, the guy goes, perfect example, his name's Jesse. And this is the true story. He's like, I go, yeah. He goes, so Nick's Pro Fitness, he goes, I go, well, it's 20,000 square feet. He goes, well, I thought it was like 2. I said, no. I said, I've got 3 other businesses too. He goes, what are they? I said, I have an extraordinary business that I have to show you, Jesse, and you got to come to lunch with me. Give me an hour and open it. He goes, I'm in. See how I said it though? I didn't say it like I was afraid to say it. I said like, dude, you got to get into this. And if you don't get into this, you're going to miss out. So it's your inflection, it's your enthusiasm, it's your posture, it's your focus. Say, look, and you know why I believe in this so much? I'll tell you why I believe this. How can you fail if we're doing this every week and you're working on your mindset, you're working on your attitude, and they get to come in here and listen to stuff like this and get information? How can you fail? How can you say to them, you screwed me? Because you can't look me in the eye and say, I didn't teach you anything. They're getting stuff that they would never get anywhere else. Correct. So they're getting unbelievable product, number one. They're getting unbelievable training. I got a lady on my email goes, I don't have a lot of money, but I got to have you teach me and coach me. We need to talk. Jules.
Oh, yeah.
Jules wants me to coach her, and I'm like, sure. But they're getting thousands of dollars of personal development and growth potential, and they're getting longevity, everything. And they're surrounded with winners every single day. You're getting mindset to get ready for your baseball. So it's blended, isn't it? Think about it. So when you say, hey, look, I got something extraordinary that's going to change your life in 2 years, financially and attitudinally, I need an hour and an open mind. You think they're going to, I believe it because I know what I'm giving them. I'm giving them way more than $500 a product. I'm giving them, number one, I'm giving them a better attitude, a better chance at life, better goal setting, better mindset. Secondly, I'm giving them the best product on the planet. That's 2, correct? And I'm giving them an opportunity to change their life financially in 2 years. Did Scott change his life financially in 2 years? Why can't we? Why can't we make an extra $1,000 a month? Would that change your life? Would that change your look? Sure would. Would it change yours? Then 2, then 3, then 4. But see, what we do is we don't have, that's why I'm saying we have way more to offer. We have so much to offer. So when you say to it, I say, Doc, you know, I got this guy, Nick. Nick is a personal success coach, you know, and you could edify me. You can say, I got Scott, he's the best leader. We have the best leaders in this business. You have Scott Bardulis, right there. Andrew is a PhD. Kent owns his own business. I own my own business. I spent 9 years as a top producer for Brian Tracy. These doctors can't get out of their own way. You know why I know that? Because I teach doctors. I train doctors. Most of them don't make as much as I make. Okay? You say, look, I said, do you want to, you know, I said, you know, you're a doctor. I know you make okay money. I said, but you know what? There's another way. There's another way to be more successful. And all I'm asking for is now, you just talk less, say less. Say what you need to say, and that's it. And when you're convicted, and look, I said, we got amazing deal. I said, we got the best training. All you have to say is, look, I got something extraordinary to show you in an hour and open mind. And when you see this, you're going to be blown away. That's what I said. You hear it coming out now? And sometimes, because I haven't rehearsed that, and I kind of stumbled a little bit, but Kent, I would never stumble like that because I'm high, right? Because we're just playing around here. But now you got me going. Now you see what happens. And I say, you know, I'll say, hey, I got something extraordinary I got to show you. What is it? Trust me, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. And when you meet Scott, when you meet Nick, this is something that's going to be perfect for you. In 2 years, you're going to be financially set. Not only that, what we do in our classes every Thursday and Saturday is just going to make your attitude just be right there all the time. Isn't that important to you? Yes, it is. Great.